Welcome, everybody, to the Bison Video Blog as North Dakota State gets back home.
What's this?
The University of North Dakota for its Valley home opener with Jeff Kolpack. I'm Dom Izzo as we get set for round 117 between North Dakota and North Dakota State. You've not covered all of them, but you've covered a fair share.
That's a funny guy.
I'd say, I don't know if this is the most anticipated Division I matchup in Fargo because 2015, after 12 years of not playing, there was a lot. This is going to have, I think, quite the buildup by the time we get to Saturday.
Yeah, it certainly has more at stake for sure.
Yes.
I mean, you got two teams who are 4-1. It's a battle of top 10 teams. And, you know, you look back at this rivalry. I know the nickel's not there anymore. And you got to forget about those Division II days because I thought there was more venom back in the Division II days because everything was regional focused. It was all about the state of North Dakota. Maybe you go into South Dakota State, but the NCC was such a regional small thing. Now I think you have universities who are a little more in tune of a national scope. This is really not about, I don't think, the bragging rights of the state of North Dakota anymore. It's about maintaining your status as a top 10 team and in the hunt for a Missouri Valley Football Conference title. So, and plus a lot of those characters from way back when, I mean, people move on. And so I just don't feel that same energy, I guess, in the old days. You know, I guess you go back to the Fire and Ice, Roger Thomas, because there's just so much more to these schools and this matchup than this one game.
I'm just going back. I'm looking at the last time UND beat the Bison in Fargo. Do you remember this? It was 2002, so it's October 12th, 2002. There was one touchdown scored in the game, and it was a kick return. Jamal Alkins, a 90-yard kickoff return, and that was maybe the low point of Bison football. There was Bob Babbich's last season.
Well, that 2002 was a lot of low points. NDSU was, A, they were hurt most of the year. B, they just weren't very good. Attendance took a dwindle. And thankfully for NDSU, a guy named Joe Chapman came along and put this program up at Division I standards.
This game is already sold out. So to go back to the first point there, obviously the anticipation is there. The Bison are coming in, Jeff, clearly off their most complete performance of the season. What we saw Saturday, 5 sacks on defense. Cam Miller, again, was dynamic on offense. Marty Brown runs for 100 yards. That was a vintage Bison performance we saw Saturday.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, the old humming on all cylinders. I think they are right now. You got one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And I think the best quarterback right now in FCS football. You got an emerging running back in Marty Brown who has shown to be really good. You have an offensive line that's steady and predictable, I guess is a good word for offensive line. And they've been productive too. The wide receivers have been probably better than we thought. Bryce Lance has emerged. Mekhi Collins has emerged. Braylon Henderson has been off to, he gets hurt, but I think he's ready for his best season as an NDSU player. So offensively, and now if you add the defensive mix, if they put it back to back, they'll be tough to beat.
Let's get more on Marty Brown here. Now, consecutive 100-yard games. He had 17 carries on Saturday. That goes off the 25 he had against Towson in the homecoming game. Now it's 2 is a trend, in my opinion. 1 is a fluke. 2 is a trend. Now we've seen something consistent out of him.
I just saw that run right there on the touchdown, and just such good vision too. And you can never underestimate what vision means to a running back. What does it mean? It's almost a feel. You see that and you go. And there's a little patience there too. And he finds the seam, finds a hole there. And boy, the power too. He just doesn't go down very easy.
No, he loves the contact. The one play that everyone's still asking about is this here. His forward momentum wasn't stopped. They blew the play dead. He probably would score a touchdown there if they kept pushing him forward.
13 pounds. We 5'11", 213, and he can catch the ball. Again, he's always making the first guy miss.
Yes.
I think we've been missing that in the Bison backfield in the last couple of years.
I will give a shout out as well to the fullback spot. Truman Weremeyer had his best game as a Bison. Not only laying blocks, he had 2 receptions in the game. That's a guy, Fargo Davies kid, that has took over that starting fullback spot with Hunter Brosio out, and he has ran with it. He's been really good up front.
What did Tim Paulsek say? Something about, when Brosio went out and you guys just make such a big, and it is a big deal.
It's an All-American.
He's an All-American, but he goes, we're always going to have an All-American there because nobody else has a fullback.
Right.
And Weremeyer, he might be the next All-American.
He might be on his way certainly to All-Conference at that spot. University of North Dakota, 4-1. I think I'll raise my hand and say I am completely surprised at how they started this season. Down 24-7 at halftime, looking at maybe an 0-2 start. with Montana. They rallied and won that game. They just put 72 on the board against Murray State. Their rushing attack, Jeff, has been dynamic. Offensive line, who had to replace 4 starters, has been awfully good so far.
Well, the quarterback right there throwing a strike to Bo Belquist, Simon Romfo, has really been, I think,
one of the stories too.
Oh, big. We knew he could run. His throwing wasn't sure about that at this level, and man, he's been really good. He's been clutch. And he's making the right throws, making the out patterns like that. Let Bo, look at that.
Yeah.
Bo Belquist is the best receiver in FCS. I know we debated that on Hot
Now you're
Mic
saying
this morning.
FCS. I thought it was just Missouri Valley. You want to go the whole division?
I'm going there.
Did
you see that move?
It's really good.
Yes.
You can't say enough about what Rumfo has done, because no one going into fall camp anticipated it was going to be Trey Feeney was going to be the starting quarterback, or Jerry Kaminsky was going to be the guy, not the kid from Langdon who ended up winning the job, and he's done a nice job, really good job, I'd say, at quarterback. The one thing that'll be tested this week maybe by the Bison defense, can he get the ball down the field? Can he get it to Belquist to 20 yards down? That's going to be the test, I think, on Saturday.
Well, Bo Belquist has already had longer receptions than he did all of last year, more of them. And, what was this 70 whatever yarder against Murray State? And you could say what you want about Murray State. That was one hell of a throw, Tom. That was just one. He's got a strong arm. I guess we didn't know that either.
No, and you bring in the combination of Isaiah Smith and Gavin Zebarth, and Bison fans know all about what Zebarth did last year with 3 touchdowns. That's going to be A1 for the Bison to stop.
The key for UND, though, as we look at these highlights, is on defense. And they've given up some points. Iowa State didn't get a whole lot, but, Idaho State got 28 points. And San Diego.
They were going up and down the field on UND in that game.
And Murray State had 35.
You could say one. It's a good point you bring up, because the way the Bison offense is clicking right now, they're going to have to get NDSU off the field. And early in games, that's been an issue for the Fighting Hawks.
Well, yeah, and again, these games, will it be a high scoring, low scoring? It's really, as we sit here on Monday, I'm not sure.
I go this way. I think it's going to be as I sit here on Monday morning, I think it might be of the higher scoring variety, which obviously last year was 49-24. I would think I'd lean more in that direction. Not a blowout, but more points in that direction.
You talk about last year's game. It was so one-sided for UND. Okay, at what point, you always say, the revenge game. I'm guessing NDSU will downplay that.
Yes.
Because it was last year, and this is a new team, a new staff, new head coach, and all that. But there's got to be, as a competitor, it's got to play a little part in your.
There's no doubt about it.
In your preparation this weekend. But once a game starts, it doesn't matter.
Here's the thing: special teams for UND. The Bison special teams have been great. UND special. Look at opening kickoff last year, return for a touchdown. They won the game against Montana with special teams. They had 3 huge special teams plays against Murray State. That's something in a game like this can shift it towards UND potentially to win the game if they make a big play like that.
And UND has made the big plays, but NDSU has made some big plays too.
They have
Jackson
so far.
Williams has a punt return for a touchdown, and I think he looks much better than a true freshman you would think when it comes to how he's handled it. I thought he's just been outstanding.
You get a sense, I always ask you this when these teams play down here, that we get some juice around this game now that UND has won in the Division I era by the time we get to Saturday?
Yeah, it's a rivalry. Of course it's a rivalry. I think we were waiting for this to happen, and what it took was a butt whooping last year.
It did.
Now we're here. South Dakota State, I think, is still the number 1 target for NDSU. I don't know how it can't be, but UND is 1A now. Northern Iowa was 1A. I think they've slipped to 1B.
Correct. Especially after how the game, with the storming of the field and how emotional Bubba was after it, you cannot discount that. I think in the back of the Bison fans' minds, they're going to remember that for a long time.
Wow, what happened?
Right.
NDSU at halftime, they were wondering what
Correct.
happened.
It was a knockout punch. The fact that UND was just running the ball up the middle and able to get 7-8 yards at will against the Bison defense last year.
The Bison defense got better after that game.
They did.
They got better, and that's what allowed them to make that run into the playoffs, into the semis at University of Montana. Almost won that, and should have been in Frisco. Could have, should have, whatever, but they weren't. But they got better after that game, and I start to wonder a little bit this year in a couple 200-yard games, but we'll see if last week was Illinois State being so bad, the Bison better. We'll see if that can become a trend like Martin Brown.
That's what I was going to say. If one is a fluke, 2 is a trend. So if they do it again, then they're trending in a great direction. We will have you covered on Saturday. Don't forget Bison Game Day live at 10 a.m. inside the Dome, and then kickoff at 2:30 on WDAY as the old rivals get set to clash once again with UND and North Dakota State. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. That's the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog.